Buenas tardes, mi gente, bienvenidos a otra clase más. Hoy estaremos entrevistando a Borna, a mi gran amigo Borna. Lo conocí hace 2 días y ya somos amigos, pero básicamente Borna viene directamente desde Canadá, donde él es el fabricante de esta varilla de fiberglass que vamos a estar utilizando por los próximos años aquí en Puerto Rico. Vamos a switchar a inglés porque Borna no habla español. Pero le vamos a poner los subtítulos aquí probablemente en español para que lo puedan entender. So, Borna, welcome to Puerto Rico.
Thank you very much, sir.
I just was introducing yourselves to everybody and telling them that we're going to switch to English, but probably we're going to do subtitles in Spanish.
That's no problem.
So everybody could understand. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we deep dive into the fiberglass reinforcement?
Carly, thank you for having me. Hello everyone online. I hope everybody's enjoying their weekend. My name is Borna. I'm currently the CEO of MST Bar Inc. I am living in Canada, in Toronto. We are one of the largest manufacturers of fiberglass that produced only the highest quality, or we call him high modulus rebar. Our products are DOT approved and has a lot of certifications: ASTM, CSA, ACI, and we have
all of them.
All of them, whatever that is required. I'm a voting member in CSA, Canadian Standard Association, ASTM, and ACI. So I work very close with the code authorities and make sure we implement proper materials into their specifications, and people knows the differences between the products and why fiberglass rebars should be out there in the market. So I'm heavily involved in codes and standards. I have a mechanical engineering degree, a master in engineering, and I spend most of my time in engineering wards, and I spend only a little bit time in the office. I'm out always and trying to educate the market, make sure they understand the differences between the products and why MST Bar is such a unique product and why it should be considered in every concrete structure.
Now, you just said my next question. Why this type of material? Why we need to change what we're using right now? In Puerto Rico, we're used to steel, and all over the world we're used to steel. But new technologies are emerging, and this is not new.
It's not new.
You were telling me that this is more than 20 years, 30 years in the market?
Over 30.
Over 30 years in the market already, and now we're seeing it in Puerto Rico. What are the main advantages of with changing to fiberglass?
Carly, we live in 2023 worlds. We are in the 21 centuries, meaning that, we have to make things better. We have to start coming out of our comfort zone and make things more durable and more sustainable. The problem with today's world is everybody is thinking to build it faster. Nobody cares about the environment. Nobody cares about how long this lasts. Just build it, sell it, make your money, and walk away. Today, our kids, your children, are paying for those mistakes. Today, GDP in US, the major GDPs are being spent in infrastructure repair. Why do you have to repair these infrastructures when you can save them in the first place? So the main reason that I emphasize why people have to consider fiberglass is sustainability and durability. One, you care about the environment by putting a material that produce significantly lower carbon footprint in first place, and then transportation. It's much lighter. This is a number 11 bar in my hand. People don't break their backs, Anyway, and the other one is, durability, which is a huge problem. Corrosion is a huge
problem in Puerto Rico.
Not in Puerto Rico, Carly. It's everywhere.
All around the world.
It's all around the world. And again, don't get me wrong, steel is a great material. It's a wonderful material. But I always tell this in front of all my, audience. Steel is a cancer inside the concretes. When you put the steel in a concrete, it's like you're giving a birth to a new baby and you're putting a cell inside that baby and said, well, it's just a matter of time that you die. Why? Why do you put something that it's going to fail versus a materials that would never rust, would never oxidize?
You touched an interesting point because in the Roman area, in Europe, before steel was invented, or
Exactly.
they did not used to use rebar to build the bridges, to build their monuments, and they are
And they're
still
still
standing.
there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now we're using steel because we wanted to probably build longer bridges or higher
Or faster.
or faster.
That's the main thing, right?
Okay.
So people want to use rebar to make things faster and lower cost, and hey, you pay for it later because of the
Yes.
corrosion and durability problem.
Yeah, but it's interesting because we could say this is thousands of years of humanity. Compared to that, this is a new technology.
Fairly, I mean, great point, Carly, bringing that topic up. Everybody knows that construction, the main problem with construction is a very slow adopting
Yes.
machine. You look at the
Yes.
cell phone technology. I mean, we got the 5 cameras, and God knows in 5 years you have a chipset in your head that you're dialing your friends from your head. Concrete is the same concrete and rebar for 100 years.
Yes.
You don't see innovation in this industry, and because it's you're responsible for public safety. It's a very old school market. Anyway, there's a tons of reason behind it, but overall, now there is a better technology, and as I mentioned, I'm not against steel, but I always tell this, that if fiberglass would be invented before steel, nobody would look at an alternative.
I agree.
Nobody, because you know what? All those structures would be there. You would only change those structures when you really wanted to demolish to build something new. Never spend $1 on the repair.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, we're introducing a new product in Puerto Rico. The Puerto Ricans, as all people around the world, they're a little bit skeptic.
Yep.
They say, is it going to work? Does it pass the code? That's the first thing everybody asks, but it's already code approving many of them. Is it going to be stronger? Is it going to be, what about corrosion? We already talked about corrosion. Obviously, it doesn't have steel, it's not going to corrode.
There's
It's
no
like just a
metal.
simple answer. But what can we say to the people that are just
Skeptical.
yes, or
Yeah.
they're like, maybe
Yeah.
if you use it first and then we'll use it. That's usually what I'm hearing nowadays.
Yeah.
What can we say to those people so they understand that this is totally safe to use? It's a new technology, but it's gonna, in my eyes, it's gonna be a technology that is going to replace the rebar.
Yeah.
Rebar is not gonna, so steel rebar is not gonna go away.
Yes.
We're still gonna use it. And there are gonna be projects and people that love using rebar. That's okay. But for people like me that like innovation, that like to work faster, easier, with the
Better.
same results or maybe better, what can we say to those people that are
That's a very good question, Carly, and this is the other part of the problem with construction, because nobody want to be the first. And I can guarantee everybody that nobody is the first now. There has been condominiums, there has been buildings, there has been bridges. Ladies, gentlemen, let me remind you, Florida Department of Transportation, Maine Department of Transportation, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas Department of Transportation, Ministry of Transportation, Ontario. I can name you guys one authority after. They're mandating the use of fiberglass rebar. They have done their due diligence. And when you're talking about the Department of Transportation or Ministry of Transportation, these people have the highest standards in the world. If you go to their laboratories, just to give you guys an idea, in Canada, we test this bar at minus 40 degrees Celsius. They literally put this bar in a nitrogen chamber. 24 hours later, they take it out and they break it. The test that we have done on this bar is beyond comprehension. Some of the tests we do to prove that this material is corrosion resistant. We put this bar in a salt water with calcium and sodium chloride for 3 months at elevated temperature, and we take it out after 90 days, and then we pull it out, and we're like, nothing happened to the bar.
Nothing happened.
We did the same test with steel, and it disappeared. It dissolved in the water. So let me remind everybody that now nobody is first. You might be the first one in Puerto Rico, but in Toronto, in Canada, in Montreal, in entire United States, People are using this
It's already
material
being
every
used.
day,
It's
every day. You know, mind you saying, let me remind everybody, the tensile strength of this material, Carly, is 145 KSI, or 1,000 megapascal in metric or, you know, imperial system. 145 KSI versus your grade 60 KSI, what does that mean? That means your structures that is reinforced with fiberglass is so over strength, meaning that there is no, apologies for my language, freaking way it's possible to break these concretes, because the material is so strong, and if you break it, it doesn't matter what was there. You still would fail 3 times before this material at the end of it. So there is no safety trigger here that people have to be worried about something, oh, it's gonna collapse. No, it will never collapse because it's so much stronger than your steel. Mind you saying, the designer have to make sure that it's been designed properly in first place, because if it would collapse, it would collapse with the steel as well, you know. So, but thank God, you know, Puerto Rico has a smart structural engineers, you know, I met a bunch of them, and you know, I'm sure these implementations would go smooth. When you're working with your 1 stories or, you know, 2 stories, your sidewalks, your, you know, next to your swimming pools and your walls, your 1 story, there is no falling. There's nothing there. Nothing could happen there. These are really for high-rise buildings, your water treatment plants, massive retaining walls. You know, then you really have to start doing a proper design. But other than that, you know, this is for do-it-yourself guys, the people who want to do it at their home. If you're doing a concrete pad with your steel rebar and now you want to use fiberglass, there is no change. There is nothing different. You just make something that is significantly better.
And it's gonna last way longer.
That's
it's not
it.
gonna corrode. Even if you guys, if somebody watching this that have a house in front of the beach, we're in an island. We're in Puerto Rico. You could be in Isla Verde, or you could be in Utuado. I've seen structures in Utuado, which is in the center of Puerto Rico, high in the mountains, on las juntas, with corrosion. So we are in an island. The salitre, I don't know the word in English, but the salt from the beach, they travel all across Puerto Rico. So it doesn't matter if it's I'm saying this because I've heard, I live in the mountains, I don't have to worry about salitre. Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. The salitre travels. Ask the polvo del Sahara, the Sahara Desert dust that we get here in Puerto Rico, and it is thousands of miles away from the Sahara Desert. So salitre travels, and even if you're living in San Juan, in Isla Verde, in Ponce, Mayagüez, or even in the mountains, this material is way better. It's not gonna corrode. And as Borna is saying, the construction is the same. You don't need to change the design. You don't need to change the way you assemble. The assemble's the same, right?
Carly, you're 100% right, and I don't wanna say Canadians have a higher standard than Puerto Rico, but there are differences in the way we make our structures. In Canada, I mean, I was talking with engineers, it's not really about the salt in the air. One of the major problems that I have seen in Puerto Rico is there's no insulation. You guys do not put insulation.
Nope.
The problem with that is you got an 8-inch thick roof, right? And you have your air condition running 24/7, very dry and cool, and then 8-inch later, you got the hot and humidity. Guys, guess what's happening inside that concrete? You're creating a condensation machine inside your roof. You don't even need the salt because that moisture inside your 8 slab is just enough to ruin your entire roof. You don't even need the salt.
There's a saying that the river already has corrosion when you put it in the concrete. Of course. The river is not making Puerto Rico. It comes
by the boats.
The boats, and they're just exposed to the.
They're rusty already.
To the rust, and they're already corroding. They already has rust. Nobody cleans the river before they use it.
No.
Maybe if you use the I remember the epoxy ones. That we used for the muelles, for the bridges, but for building houses, Nobody uses epoxy ones
Well,
because
and
they're too expensive.
Not only that, Carly, but epoxy coated and galvanized rebar is getting banned in many Department
Really?
of Transportation. I don't know if you know that. Ministry of
No, I didn't know
Transportation
that.
of Ontario banned the use of epoxy coating in 2006. And the reason was very simple. The problem with epoxy coated and galvanized is it's great if you handle it like that. But if you're on a job site and you're grabbing this bar and rubbing it on the floor, guess what's going to happen to those layer of epoxy? Then the layer of epoxy going to get scratched, and the corrosion start right there. One of the major problem we have in Canada is you scan the concrete, you see something, you chip the concrete, you see the epoxy shell empty inside. Very dangerous.
Wow.
That's one of the major reasons the Department of Transportation said we can't afford. First of all, you're paying a premium. You can't control the laborers at the job site to carry this material
no way.
with care.
There's no
no way. So the epoxy coated, the rebars are getting, banned in many. That's one of the reasons, fiberglass rebars are gaining momentum. It's lighter, easier. You're not worrying about corroding this bar because, okay, there is a scratch. Who cares? There's no corrosion. There's a lot of other benefits, Carly, about using this material. When you talk about constructability, one is it's very easy to cut this material. So fabrication process are very easy. Tying the bar is the same way, but one of the huge benefit is the lower cover concrete. I speak with many structural engineers and they say, yeah, we put 2 inches of cover on top of the concrete. If it's next to the water, we put 3 inches of concrete. Well, guys, that concrete is money. It's not free. And when you put that concrete, you're going to provide, form work, a stronger form work, and, finish it better, and, a lot of headaches. Fiberglass rebar does not rust. That means, put minimum cover concrete, put 1 inch cover concrete. So that savings that you're going to see in your concrete saving, in your finishing, it's huge.
And the laws of the structure. if you have any technical people watching, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just for the people that don't know about the coverage, you remember if you're doing a slab, probably you're going to do 5, 6, 8, 7, 8 inches. And then you got the rebar inside. And then you got a section of concrete on top of the rebar. That section of concrete, that thickness, it has to be a specific thickness to protect the rebar.
Exactly.
So the concrete is not only a structural section, a structural element of the building, but also needs to protect the rebar from the water, from the climate, and all that.
Fire sometimes,
Yes.
depending on the fire rating. Exactly.
So that coverage can change now that we are not using rebar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you said something about fire. What's the fire rating in?
That's a very good question, Carly. And this was a big question in everybody, because the first thing people think is, how does it work in fire? Very interesting is we did this big test in Canada, in Ottawa, by National Research Council of Canada. This is a government organization, and we did this test according to ASTM E119, and we actually designed the entire parking garage slab.
Okay.
We put 1.7 times service load, meaning that it was supposed to be a truck. We put 1.7 truck, and then they put a direct fire. Typically with steel, you need, according to the building code, minimum 2 hours fire rating.
Okay.
We achieve over 3 hours fire rating.
Oh, wow.
And it's very simple concept.
So surpass the minimum.
Even, exactly, even for steel. The reason is simple, Carly, is because if you hear the noise of this material has 85% glass content, 15% polymer, which is a high performance polymer to keep these fibers together. Interesting enough, during the fire, if you have that 15% of the polymer get damaged, remember, 85% of this is glass. Yeah. Glass is not going to go anywhere. In fact, glass has a higher melting temperature than steel. So that's one of the main phenomenals, that these materials perform so well in fire.
It's just simple logic.
Simple logic. But you won't notice until you do spend $500,000 in testing.
But now we know.
Yeah,
now we know.
Exactly.
Okay, that's super cool. So, this has been a really, really good experience learning about not only the technical, because I already know, and we've been talking a lot and doing a lot of content for the people to understand how to use the sizes. Is the same way, can we bend it, and we already talk about all that. But it has been a great experience to see a little bit of behind, a little bit more technical stuff, which I know you guys that are watching it are loving it. Any last words to the people of Puerto Rico so they can be relaxed and know that if they move into a house and it's already being built by River, which is going to happen quite soon, so they know that they're safe?
Carly, great question, and I always tell this. After watching some of my technical presentations and the pictures of the jobs we have done, caissons, tunnels, bridge decks, retaining walls, barrier walls, wing walls, I can talk about beams and anything. After listening to one of my technical presentations, which I invite everybody, make sure on the next seminars we can invite as many people to watch one of my seminars. I always tell people that I'm a human, I'm like everybody else, and if I have to make my own home for my own kids, I will never use a steel rebar. Why? Because I want to make sure that my house last longer, stay for my kids. You know, I want to make sure I don't need to spend the money that I can spend to travel to repair those structures, the money that I can use to buy a new car, to spend it on a stupid concrete that I have to, you know, I could avoid all this stuff by properly putting the right material in there. That's what I always tell people, to not worry, because we have done so many applications out there that are beyond the 1 or 2 or 3 stories housings, and you know, this material is approved to be used in bridges, roads, you know, so using it in your home, replacing it from your steel to fiberglass, you're not going to see any difference. The only thing you're going to see is in 20 years your life going to be easier, because you will never need to go back and repair it.
Totally agree. So Borna, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Carl.
Thank you for being in Puerto Rico. Next time you come to Puerto Rico, you need to try an alcapurria.
Okay, sir.
Definitely an alcapurria. So, guys, thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, just comment below, send it to us. And probably when you do the next seminar, we're going to send a link so anybody want to learn more stuff, more technical stuff. I've been to one of your seminars and they're great. So thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.